So eliminate any data present from previous weeks, and then we're going to go over the population and add each of their infection counts, cumulative infection counts, into this histogram. So excuse me, it's not this infection count it was this one called an individual infection count. I mistyped this. Individual infection count, histogram data dot reset.
Okay, dot reset.
Yeah. So it's this new histogram data that we added, and then we're going to go add the data we wanted to put into it. So we're going to do for person P in the population. We're going to add that person's. Yep. Yep. We're going to add in that person's infection, the infection count that they accumulated. So what is it called? It's a count, right? In person, it's a variable called count of times infected. That's what it is. Count of times infected. Okay. One of the virtues of naming things consistently is that you can kind of guess what the name is. And for some reason, in that case, I thought it was not named with count first, but it is. Okay, so this is what we're doing. So I'm going to go up and put that. Whoa, yes, and I added all these things in. So pardon me, just a second. This is when it had the dysfunction. It was adding things in willy-nilly. Okay, so let's go get rid of these. Boom, so they don't cause problems. Boom, boom, gone. Okay, okay, and then I'll go display that, Kristen. Here we go. There we go. And I'll put it up on the big screen. Sure. There we go. This is the histogram data we just added. Just keep the individual infection counts, and then we reset it. And then for each person in the population, we're going to add their count of times infected into that. This is P dot count of times infected, right? Okay? Who needs TA help? Okay? So if you run this, so build it. And if we scroll up, we should see something like this. The individual infection counts. They're rising over time as more and more people have gotten infected more and more times. So on a weekly basis, we're summarizing the number of times people in the population have gotten infected. And you could see it rising up. Okay? So here we're displaying longitudinal data on individuals in a histogram here. And once again, we could export that. Okay? Okay, the final thing, the final thing which we're going to display. So here we have a summary across the population of longitudinal data on an individual, the count of times they've gotten infected. The final thing I'm going to do is go to, before lunch here, is to go to person, and I'd like to add in something which will record the times at which they've gotten infected, right? The specific times where they've gotten infected, okay? And specifically, I'd like to have a collection that's called Times of Infection.
Sorry, you added a
collection
collection? Is that under
from general.
Okay.
You drag it in there.
Okay.
And we can just add an array list, okay? And this will be an array list of double. I'm just going to record the times at which someone's gotten infected. Okay? And this will be the and we're going to record a new time at what point? Well, when they get infected. So at these same 2 points here, when they got infected. Okay? So it's under the transition, same place we did it. Yeah, the action on the transition. We would do times of infection. I'll do this dot times of infection dot add and give it the current time. Okay? Now, we need to do the same thing over here in this other transition, but you'll notice that every time we're just duplicating the same darn set of things. So that's not safe, because we may forget to do it one time. We get a phone call in the middle of doing it one. We forget to add it to the other. So the best thing to do is to add a what? What do you think they're going to say? A function. And this will be record infection. We just added an infection, a function that records infection. And then we just have to define the series of actions once. So we added a function in, record infection, and then we're going to take the code that we've been typing in this place, and we're going to put it into this function. The body of the function is going to do those steps. And then, instead of where that was, we're just going to call that function, record infection. And the same thing with the other place that code was, that other transition, we're just going to say record infection. Okay? It just makes it much cleaner. We don't have to look at all those details and remember to modify it at both those places. From now on, we're just going to, whenever we need to change something, we'll just do it in this record infection place. Okay? Okay? So, Maria, did that food actually come then? Okay. That's fine. I can keep on going till the cows come home. Okay, so here, in other words, this transition calls record infection. This transition calls record infection. Record infection has all that code we had defined before. If we have to do something more, we'll just add it to here, the single place. Does that make sense? We limit the number of places we have to modify things. From now on, we'll just modify it once rather than twice. Okay, so now we should be able to run this thing. And here we have various things going on. Let's go down to the individual level. Let's pause it for a minute. Here's someone who's gotten infected 54 times. Here are the times at which they've gotten infected. So they got infected at time 8.4, 83.129, 113.859, etc. People comfortable with that? Now we could very easily add something using a similar collection. We could add in a tree set that records a set of people that have infected them for each of those time, over all time, or the particular people. We could add in that would be an easy thing to do. Would be to add in add in who infected them for each of these times, for example. Well, that's what we're going to do next. So you could have a similar collection where it would record, who sent this message, for example, and you'll notice that when a message comes in, there's this thing MESG for the message, and we could actually ask. We can ask the message, I believe in. Oh, okay, so it is. MSG is just, I guess, just the payload of the message. But we could actually send along information about who sent it. But I believe there's a way to specifically ask who specifically sent this message. So we could easily extract that. I think in the interest of time right now, what I'm going to do is to just show you how we can export some of this data. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to first output this to a text file, and then we'll do it to an Excel file. Okay. Okay. So for a text file, let's go to main, and let's go down to connectivity, which is this one here. It looks with sort of a cylinder with what looks like a ribbon with arrows on it going back and forth. Let's drag in a text file. Okay. So if we drag that in, let's call it file, so text file output, or dragging in text file. And this will be mode write, so that we'll write to it. And we're going to browse and put this someplace on your machine where you're confident you could save something. Maybe it's the desktop. Maybe it's your documents folder. Someplace that you're confident that you can safely save something. Okay. So I will go put it on my machine in a sort of throwaway place. File output. I think by default it may show, yes, it's actually the folder in which this file is located. So that would be fine. So I'm going to say, SIR output, okay, .txt, yeah. Okay, so we're going to write out a data set to this file when we finish execution, okay? So where would we go to do things if we wanted to do something when the model starts execution? Where would we go to do it? Sorry? Yeah, we could do it actually in simulation too. That's true, in the experiment. But I was thinking if we want to do it when main starts, we could do it in main startup. And similar, if we want to do something when main is going to be destroyed, we could do it in on destroy of main. So if you go to main, you could set it in on destroy there. We're going to now output to this file. We're going to output the number of people infected over time, as well as the number of cases or it's a number of new people per week that have gotten infected over time. Okay, so let's go to on destroy, and we could put trace ln. Excuse me, not trace ln. Text file output dot print, and we're gonna actually it should be print ln. That will print to an entire line. Well, it's the name of the object you added for the text file. Yeah, whatever you name that. And this will be new infections per week. Okay. And then what I'd like you to do is to now do the same basic thing, but instead of println, do print, just print, and call it the name of the data set. Put the name of the data set in there. So it should be something like this. Depending on how you named them, it should say something like this: new infections per week, and then you're going to print the data set out. Okay. This is going to be I'm sorry, this infection count, it's going to be the data set, this data set name. I may have mistyped it. It's called infection count for current week data set. Data set. So this is it as it appears in mine. Text file output is the thing to create the text file. Okay. This is at the final time, so it's printing out the sort of data that's been accumulated all through the model. Oh, that's a good point. We should set the model to finish at a specific time. Very good point. So let's very good point. Let's set it to finish at time stop. So we're clicking on the simulation here. Stop at stop time, say 500. Okay, 500 days. Yeah, or say 520. That's 10 years. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 500. What am I saying? It's not 5 years. Say 500. Fine. Sorry? Yeah.
Can you show that big box again from?
Yeah. Note this is println. Note this is print.
And where was that again? I've lost it.
Sorry?
Where was that? Oh, that was on the model.
That was in the model, the main destroy. On destroy. In main. On destroy.
Okay. Text file output. I think I got thrown off because I tried to look for text file output in my control space and I couldn't find it.
Yeah. Oh, do you need me to put that back up there? Okay.
So what I'm adding at the end there is the data set?
Yeah, it's the name of the data set. This is just the name of the data set there. Oh, it only had. Okay. One thing that you may want to do, and I'm actually not totally clear on when this is absolutely required, but it's a safe practice, is to do this. At the end of this, put in, I'll put it here, close. That'll actually close out the file. Okay, so you're getting an error?
Yeah.
You're getting an error when you run it or when you?
When I try to build it.
Okay.
It doesn't recognize for the same reason I couldn't find it for the text file output.
Yeah.
So.
You called it file?
Okay. All right, so.
Why don't you just rename this text file output? Yeah. Text file output. Yeah.
Okay, I tried to switch over. It was giving me weirdness for that too. Okay, I think that should work.
Yep, now you're fine. Yep. Okay, great. So should we run it? Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, we're running this. Let's run it out to time 500, to the final time. Now we close it. This is very important. You close it. That's when it's actually written. And now let's go over and see what it output. So I have to go see where my model lives. My model lives in save as. It lives in models. Okay. Oops. Okay. And here we go. Hey. Oh, I put it in. That's right. I put it in temp for me. Okay. Thought I did. Text file output. Oh. Created model. Okay, that's where it is. I put it in another folder altogether. Okay, great. There we go. And this is what we see. This is what I get on my computer. You folks see something kind of similar? Okay, so that was one particular data set. The key point is that this data set is output automatically in this sort of tabular fashion. Let's have it put out a different data set here. So here we could get it to output periodically. So ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like you to do is to go drag another data set into your model, into your main. Go drag a data set for the count of current cases. So data set. So infective. So count infective cases. So this is really prevalent case count, I'm going to call it. Prevalent current case count data set. No, it's a regular data set. Okay? Prevalent case count. And this one we're going to update automatically every 2 days. Okay? People who needs TA help? We just drag the new data set here. It's updated automatically every 2 days. And the vertical axis value will be given by the count of infectious people. Where can we get the count of infectious people at a given time? Where do we do that? It's a population statistic. Count infective. So prevalent case count data set will be updating automatically every 2 days with the count of people that are infected. Okay? Population dot count infective. Okay? And now, how would we add that to also print that out? Can anyone tell me? Where do we go? If we wanted to output that to that same text file, where would we go? Whither would we go? Text file output, and where does that live? Or where are we writing to that? An on destroy of main. Really, this should be in a function called like output data. So instead of having to find it in there, but I'm not going to, in the interest of time, I'm not going to do it, but it belongs in a function called write to data, so you don't have to go search through all these places to find where you're writing it. You just go and you see a function that says, write to file. You can put it right up there next to text file output. You could see what it is that writes to it. Okay, so do text file output, and we're going to basically do the same thing, but we're going to write to this is going to be infective individuals, and instead of writing that other data set, we're going to write out prevalent case count data set. Okay? Now, this is just asking for another function. There should be a function like output data set. You give it a name, and you give it the data set, and it outputs it. and we could just call that function twice. It would be beautiful. But I'm not going to have time to show that to you. It'd just be a thing of beauty and a joy, if not forever, for at least for a long time, while you're still in this boot camp at least.
And then close the text file output.
And then you close it. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And, I can't find my text file. Can you remind me how we got to that place where we said the...
Whoa. I did something wrong. We did something. We only want to close it once. Sorry. At the end. Whoa. There's a tone out. What am I doing? Okay, we print out this, we print out that, and then we close it. Whoa. Sorry? What happened?
I was asking that because of putting a close command in between, did it got lost in between?
No, it just wouldn't be able to write the second time.
So, you're not finding it, not an issue of that command.
Okay, now I'm opening this up now. Oh. Right. So here we have one data set, and then we have another data set. Now, you folks help me debug this. Why is it that this starts at time 302? Anyone? If you see that, why is that? It's because data sets by default only keep a certain amount of data. This one, prevalent case count, I forgot to change it from the 100 latest samples to 100,000. That's why it didn't keep that. People need help? Who needs professor help? The professor stands ready. 23 what? Okay, now we're running this. It's finishing. And we should get this output. Okay, here we go. Here's the count of infectious individuals over time. Okay? So here are the different data sets in here. But this is kind of awkward in the sense that they're listed one after the other. Right? They're listed one following the other in a kind of in a long list. You could use it, but it's kind of awkward. Let's put them in an Excel sheet. What do you think? How about those in Sector 3? Do you like the idea of an Excel file output? Okay. Sector 3 is in agreement. Okay, great. So let's as our denouement, as our coda, let's put in place as our finale for the morning. Let's put in place an Excel file output. What do you think? Okay, folks, you have to do a bit of preparation here. Your computers have Excel on them? Okay, open up Excel, and you're going to actually have to start with an Excel file there already. Okay? So take Excel and go save something in the folder where you're outputting that same folder where you're outputting the text file. Go save an Excel file, blank one, called .xls. To the best of my knowledge, AnyLogic doesn't create an Excel file from scratch. I stand to be corrected. But when I experimented with it, it required one already. So it requires one already, right, PSR? Exactly. You have to have it there already. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I went to save to that same folder something called simplesarnetwork.xls. And I'm saving it in Excel 97-2003 format. I don't know if actually that's required, but that's how I've done it before, and that's how I'm going to do it now. Okay. Excel 97-2003 through 2003 format. It probably will do later ones. I just haven't tried, and I don't want to risk it here. Okay. So are people okay with that?
Sorry, so I went and saved the blank Excel file into the folder where everything's...
Same folder. It should be a .xls file.
And now I've dragged Excel from connectivity into name.
Yeah, well, you're way ahead. So we need to close this file now that we saved it there. that blank file. We note the name of that. It's called Excel output or whatever you called it. Just note the name. Okay, now, so close that from Excel, and now go in your palette down to connectivity and drag the Excel file over into main, and this will be called, what is it called? Excel output, I called it. Okay. You can call it all sorts of different things. I call it Excel output. Now notice it's asking for the file, so you have to go select the file. Do you see that? When you drag that in, among its properties is it says browse, and you can have to go select the file to which you want it to output. Okay. Looks like it handles XLSX as well, so it'll handle the other types. So my concerns were unfounded. Okay, and then there's a set of.
Sorry, where is that?
Sorry.
Where is the Excel file?
It's in connectivity, just like the text file was. Yeah, and drag it in there, and then you're going to need to do browse. So are people needing help? Okay. Okay, so are you ready for the crescendo of the finale? Okay. Okay. So let's go to where we're writing things on destroy. Okay. Soon my ability to tolerate this is going to break down. I'm going to create a function, and it needs to be created badly. And I stand before you feeling ashamed, feeling neglectful, feeling downright irresponsible, having educated you in such a poor way. Okay, so what we need to do, the crescendo is building. Excel, so whatever you call this thing, Excel output, for example, dot, write, and here it goes. Here's the thing of beauty. Write data set. And you need to give it the name of the data set that you want to specify. And you can specify several different versions of this. I'm going to give it the name of the data set. Okay. So name it infection count for current week data set. No, it's the data set that you already have there, which you have two data sets. Yeah, and then you want to put this in sheet 1, 1 comma, and then the row and column at which you want it to sit. So I'll say row 1, column 1 in that sheet. Okay, that's the point from which you want it to write. So we're writing one data set. We'll write the other data set to the other sheet. Okay. Okay. So the prevalent case count data set will be written to sheet 2, row 1, column 1. Okay, so this is what I'm writing on my machine. This is what it says on the big screen here. So this is Excel output dot write data set, and then the name of the data set, and then the first one is 1. This is sheet 1, row 1, column 1, and then sheet 2, row 1, column 1. Is that okay? Yeah. Are you people okay with that? Okay. Okay, the music is swelling. Do you want to run this thing? Yeah? Okay, who needs professor help? Okay? So let's get her done. Let's run it. So we're going to run it and run it out, flat out. It's running, it's finishing. Okay, now we're going to close it. Okay? And now let's go open that Excel sheet and see what Santa has brought. Okay? So there's there's our infection count on a weekly basis. Notice 0, 7, 14, 21. Those are the days. And sheet 2, every 2 days reporting the prevalent case count. Okay? So there's our little Excel sheet output. Okay? And hopefully none of you have gotten coal. So let me know if you need professor help, okay? But that's a pretty nifty sort of thing. Now, you can also write into particular cells in the Excel sheet. So if you want to fill in, little bits of information, fill it in. That's good. Priesri's group used Excel, and they found trying to put data at detailed places in Excel using this interface somewhat painful, I'd say. Is that right? Is that a fair description? So outputting these data sets is a good, simple way to interface with Excel. But if you want to do really detailed kind of layouts of Excel sheets and so on, you maybe want to put it into a database, and then in Excel, you could import from a database. Okay? Okay. Those are some outputs. Now, I would note that in a parameter variation experiment, I'm not sure if the food is here yet. I could just continue going on, and I'm not sure, but in a parameter variation experiment, we could dump each successive. So when we run the model for a particular realization, do you remember yesterday in the parameter variation, we read out, we actually salvaged from the particular realization we ran, we salvaged a data set? Do you remember that? We said we read out a data set that was in main. We could similarly, at that time, we could print it out in just this way. We could print it to a text file. We could print it to an Excel file. In short, and you could print to the same sheet in successive columns, right? Maybe we'll just vary slightly what we did, so I could show you alternatives to that. Let's vary slightly. Suppose, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't want these things. Suppose you take this to your manager, and they said, you take this to your prof or someone, your department head, and they say, well, I don't want to see those columns in separate sheets. I want to see them in the same sheet, separate columns. How would we do that? Can anyone suggest? Where would we go? Sorry? You could do that, but it's simpler than that, actually. You could even just right here, the second data set doesn't have to be written to a separate sheet. It can be just written to a separate column. So here, sheet 1, but we could output it to column. We're ready? Great. Okay, I've been the finale and the crescendo. You missed the grand. Yeah, I called it 113. There we go. Okay, and now it's output, and I'm going to open it up, and there we go. The data sets stand before us, arrayed in beauty. So if Ricardo wanted to output from a parameter variation experiment, you could put code that would put your things in successive columns of a spreadsheet. Each time you increment some variable for the current column, incremented by 2. So each time it's putting it out into successive columns. And where you'd put that out in a parameter variation experiment is that same place you'd normally read out the data and put it into a 2D histogram. It's right at that point you could just dump it into an Excel sheet. And no manual labor.
No, I did this actually.
Oh, you did that? Okay.
The thing that I
Good.
didn't know what to do was when you have replications and you change the field for each replication.
Oh, okay.
And how could you handle all the data sets into one Excel?
Oh, okay.
They are being generated in different replications.
Different replications associated with say a realization, a given iteration. Yes.
So that was the point. But then you know you did it.
Yeah. So I could talk with you about a solution for that. and I have in mind a specific way of doing that, but we'd have to talk about that. In any case, here you can output to successive Excel, Excel sheets, or to successive columns of columns or rows of an Excel sheet, and all it takes is those two lines to have output those basic data sets to Excel. So here we've output one data set, we've output another. We've also seen how we can output to a text file. Okay.
I'm not overwriting my old file for some reason. My Excel file.
No, it stays. The contents stay there. Help me understand what you mean.
So
yeah.
I changed it so that
rather than overwriting.
Well, So I changed it so that my data should go to worksheet 1,
Yep.
row 1, column 1, and then the second
Yep.
set of data should go to worksheet 1,
Yep.
row 1, column 4.
Yep.
It's still going to the second worksheet, even though I rebuilt
and
reran.
Did you close Excel or?
I closed that file, left Excel open.
Okay. I'd have to look at this. It smells to me like it. Maybe you need to close Excel, but let's talk about that. Okay. So I think lunch is served. Okay. Very good. So thanks very much. Well, we dealt with those technical difficulties, and we'll reconvene at what do you think? 1:15?
Yeah.